Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Johanna, and for those of you who are new here, welcome, and for those of you who are returning, welcome back. Here on my channel I do planner and planner related videos, and occasionally I do little sneak peeks of releases that I do to my Etsy shop. So if that is something that you are interested in, please consider subscribing to my channel and hitting that little words are hard, hitting that little notification bell so that anytime that I load a new video, you will be notified. And I am so thankful for those of you who have been with me on this journey and who are continuing to join me on this journey. So for today, this video will be about my sinking funds, and I am a little bit late because I'm actually doing the setup for the sinking funds for March. But as I mentioned in my March monthly budget video that I just filmed and will have already been loaded by the time this one goes up, I think I'm at a place where I've figured it out, at least comfortably figure it out, so that I don't have little breakdowns like I did in my video a few weeks ago. So I've already started some of the preliminary setup for the sinking fund, just because drawing lines isn't excuse me, isn't fun for people to watch, but I will finish the rest of the setup. And this is my DIY Erin Condren Happy Planner Hybrid that has components of all sorts of things. So I've got some of the pages from an academic Erin Condren planner that I just ripped out and then reconfigured. And it wasn't like it was old. I always wanted to use these pages for budget, but I just really hate that coil. And this is some washi that I had picked up from Walmart. It is actually a Hawaiian themed with the plumeria. I think it's plumeria on it. And then in my monthly March budget, again, just uploaded a few days ago from when you're seeing this, I just printed out a bunch of categories that I thought I might be using on a weekly or monthly basis here in my budget notebook. Oh my goodness, I'm all scatterbrained. Okay, so this is components of an Erin Condren. I've got it on pink metal rings. I've got Happy Planner paper in here. These are dividers that I picked up from Walmart that typically go into a binder. They were on rings. This is a monthly calendar you would typically hang up on the wall. I just cut down and glued down so that I would have a monthly overview. I don't really use this like most people do here on YouTube, but I did want to see it. And yeah, this is my hybrid. And what I did here was I had some label sheets in my stash. I just printed out different categories, different months, because I do like the look of sticker kits. But one, there's just so many out there, and two, I want to divert my funds right now to something else. So I thought this was a good DIY. It's not going to be as pretty, as customizable as some of the other ones, because you can buy them for the month, make it all themed out and everything. But I think it looks really nice. And what I did was I took the label and then I just did a quick fussy cut around so that it would have that look like most of the sticker kits do. Because again, I really like how it looks. I don't want to pay for it. So yeah. And I did mention in the other video, I don't know how sticky these labels are, and they're actually quite old. So I'm putting some clear packing tape over it just so that it doesn't come up, and it also protects it. And the reason I'm using packing tape is because it's the crystal clear type, and the Scotch tape that I have is more cloudy, so I'll need to pick up the kind that I like so that I can use it, which will be easier to use. So this is, again, the sinking funds for March, and actually do I have, okay, so I'll show you what I did, because, I mean, this is my planner. I know what month it is because it's going to be with all the other March things, but it'll give me a way to show you what I meant by the fussy cut thing. Again, when you get the sticker kits from the Etsy shops and whatever, this is kiss cut, and so it's all perfect and beautiful, and sometimes they even outline it so that you have the white border and then a black outline, and it's really super cute. But I mean, this just cost me some time because I had the printer and I had the labels on hand. So that'll go up there. Nope, nope. And then I will have to cut another piece of packing tape, but that's loud, so I don't mind how that looks. It could be more centered, but whatever. And I need a ruler. Now, I am new at this budgeting journey, and if you are also new, a sinking funds is just little savings accounts that are intentional. I know it sounds like I know what I'm talking about, right? So, and I can do a more in-depth video where I'm not specifically doing things. I might do like a face forward kind of video where I go more into this, and if that's something that you're interested in, let me know in the comments below. But basically, this is for anticipated or expected expenses. So in your regular monthly budget, you would typically do your credit cards, your housing, light bill, cell phone. You would do all of that because every month, hopefully, those expenses are known and regular. Now, for a sinking fund, it can be something that's known, but it isn't occurring every single month. Or it can be something that you know may happen in the future. Like, for instance, my first category is beauty. So I wear makeup every day when I go to work, and I know that I will need to buy new foundation, and my foundation is $42 from Macy's. I wear the Estee Lauder Double Wear, in case you were wondering. And so I can set aside a little bit of money every month so that when I do need it, even if I don't have it fully funded, I will have more towards that than I did. And hopefully that lessens the chance that I'm going to put it on a credit card. This used to be titled gifts, or this used to be titled Christmas, but now I just have it as gifts. Christmas happens the same time every single year, so that's a category that you can utilize and put money away for that expense. Again, you may not have it fully funded, but at least you'll have more than you did if you just try to scrounge up money, the month or two prior to Christmas. And that's what really the beauty of sinking funds is that you are thinking about what could possibly occur, and then putting a name to it, and then putting a dollar to it, or a dollar amount to it. Because again, let's say you have car registration. I don't have a car, so I don't know how much that stuff costs, but let's say your registration is $200 every 4 months. And I don't think that's right. I think it's an annual thing, but whatever. So every 4 months, you'd have to come up with $200. Now you can just hope that in that particular month, you have that $200, or you can set aside a little bit of money every month up until that, so that, again, if you don't have the full $200, at least you'll have more of it than you did if you just tried to figure it out in the month that it was due. Now, this sinking funds is different from an emergency fund in that this is anticipated or known expenses, right? So an emergency fund, if we're going to use the car analogy, which is not a good analogy for me since I don't own a car, but let's say you have a sinking fund for your registration and your tags, which people say all the time. I don't know what that means. And you have to renew your driver's license every year. I don't know. Those are known. You know that's going to come up whenever those things come up, whatever those things mean. But let's say you just bought your car like a year or two ago and you're thinking, I'm good for the maintenance or whatever, and then your car gets dinged a little. Everyone's safe, no one's hurt, but now one of your the window things, no, the mirror things on the side of the door is missing, and you need to replace that because you have a safety inspection coming up. And you need that little mirror thing because that's a safety issue. That's not an expected expense. You may not have a budget item for that if you don't have a car maintenance sinking fund, or if you've just used it to actually maintain the car because of, I don't know what that is, then that would come out of your emergency fund because you really don't have any other pool of money to take it out of. A sinking fund is for a known or anticipated thing, and whether it's in the next couple of months, whether it's next year. Some people even do sinking funds for things that they want but may not necessarily have an end date for. For example, I might want to go on vacation in the next couple of years. I don't know where, I don't know when, but I want to start putting away money for that now. Or I would like to pick up a new laptop. I could start putting a fund for that. I do need to get new glasses, so I could start putting them for that. I don't have an end date, but I do know it's something that's on my want or wish list, so I can start saving up for that. And really that's what it is. You're just sinking money into different categories so that you'll have it for when that category occurs, if that makes sense. So there's sinking funds, there's emergency fund, and then there's savings. And savings is just money that you're just sinking with no other goal in mind than just to start building your wealth. And I know that sounds super budgety, and I think that's what that means. That you're just saving not for things that are going to come up, not for emergencies that'll come up, but you're just saving for your retirement, or you're saving for your mortgage, or you're saving for something. But it's not maybe such a drilled down goal, but rather just, big and lofty, and you just want to have money set aside. Okay, so sinking funds, and I didn't realize this in the beginning, but it's savings. Emergency fund is savings, and the real difference between the two is intentional versus unexpected. And I hope that helps somebody, because it took me a minute to wrap my head around that. And so these, as of right now, are the categories that I have. I did actually add one for business supplies. As I've mentioned before, I do have Etsy shops, and they are currently running in the red because I spend more on supplies and fees and things than I recoup on a regular basis. But I am really going to try to make that what am I trying to say? I'm going to try to generate it so that at least, I want to manifest wealth. I want to manifest positivity. So I'm working on making my Etsy shops profitable. I don't know why that seems like such a bad thing, because that's why you open a shop. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. I want to make my Etsy shops profitable, and I actually hopefully want, I want to make my blog profitable as well. Not hope and wish. You're going to do it. You want to do it. So this here, because I really needed to wrap my head around, obviously, this whole budgeting thing, but when I see people do sinking funds, on YouTube videos. And I've never read a book, so it's not like, you know, I've gotten my own knowledge. It's all secondhand knowledge, and maybe that's part of the problem. But they log what goes in and what comes out, but I don't know where they track, you know, because unless you're only just buying the one thing, or unless you only have the one transaction, how do you account for all of that? Because, and maybe they have just a expense tracker that is fully all of their expenses, because the only other tracker that I have is just for my cash envelopes. So maybe that's where the disconnect for me is. And I shouldn't have drawn the lines up here, but whatever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a sinking funds transaction log, where if I do have multiple expenses, sorry guys, just had a little bit of a coughing fit. So if I do have multiple expenses of these funds in a given month, what my plan is to log it here, and then at month end when I recap, sum the total of each different category, and then I'll have that money so that this totals should add up to whatever I have in this column, so that I have a clear ending balance. And again, maybe I'm thinking about this too much, but I truly didn't understand how other people were doing this. And that actually should have gone up there. Well, I'm not going to have a lot of transactions this month since we're nearly at the end, but I will need to, and part of my problem, and I have this problem when I'm doing plan with me's, is talking and thinking and doing is a very difficult endeavor. If you don't believe me, you should try it, because I mess up, because either I'll lose my train of thought, or I'll write the wrong thing, or I'll put it in the wrong place, because I'm trying to sound intelligent and do stuff. And that should be easy. Clearly, it isn't. And then down here, and again, I shouldn't have drawn those lines there, but down here, I want to do a transaction log total per category. And the reason why you saw the color when I started the first video is I read somewhere online that if you don't want to worry about your pens smudging, put the highlighter first and then write on top of it, which I think is just a genius move. And so what I'm going to do is just put categories that mirror the ones up there. And I don't know if I'm going to color code it or if I'm going to number it. For this month, I only actually have one expense so far. I don't know that I'll have any more since we are almost at the end of March, but I don't want to fill this in until the 31st has passed. So in months where I know I will have more expenses, then I will figure out at that time, because I like using the mild liners, but there's only 5. I actually do have other colors, but it's more of a storage issue than anything. So I might just number it. And so that's unbudgeted. And then this is business supplies. See? Trying to think and do business supplies. And I don't know if I finished my thought on the business supplies, but I started a new category for it just because I can't count on the Etsy shop funding it itself. And I want to make sure I have money in that pool, because right now I typically just put it on a credit card with the hopes I can pay more money down. I know, guys. I know. So here are my thoughts. I will start here because I know what these numbers are. because I did actually, because I did get a tax refund in February, I did start this pool of funds with the exception of the last one. So that's starting with 0. It is the 25th, so I've already put in the money for this month, and I will, when I close out my sinking funds for the month, I'll show you how I did it, my totals and all of that. And I put in here. So I did put $100 towards my sinking funds. $32 plus 96 plus 32 plus 37. 32, 52, 281, and that should match up what we had coming in to the month. We're not going to do this here yet, and then the ending will just be the difference between these two minus this gives us that. And then down here, like I said, I will just keep an expense tracker of anything that hits any of these line items, because I don't have cash for this. This is actually on a Discover debit card that I opened. It just seemed easier for me. So the only tracking that I have is here on paper, because I only have the one account. And so if I look at that account, it just tells me how much money I have in there. It doesn't tell me what it goes for or whatever. So this is how I'm going to keep track of it. This is how I'm going to keep track of those expenses. And the way I thought it would make it easier on myself is if I have a beauty expense in the beginning of the month, and then planning expense, gift expense, beauty expense, I can sum up what this is here, put it down here, and then carry this number up there. And again, I don't know if I'm making this more difficult for myself. I can't remember how other people do this. They always seem to know, unless they work on their sinking funds on a weekly basis, because then I guess that would work. But for me, this seems to make the most sense, because I'm only going to be putting money in once a month. It's anticipated for once a month. And then the money going in only happens once a month. The money coming out could happen way more often than that. And I do want to keep track of where that is. Again, let me know if that makes sense or not, because I don't know. I'm not frustrated like I was in that one video. And thank you guys so much for sticking with me, because that was a train wreck. But let me put this in here. Now, as I mentioned in my March recap, no, that's something I'll be doing. As I mentioned in my March monthly setup, I am going to be more focused on my blog. And in that video, I did have a free printable that's available on my blog, and I'll put the link below to my monthly budget template. So if you guys are interested, you can go there. It's a PDF. You can just print it for free. And there's no even hoops. You just got to get to my blog, get to the end of the blog, and then you just click it and then print it. So for this sinking fund, I have done the same, where I will have a free printable. And actually, this is what it looks like if you print it out just 100%. And again, it mimics mine. So it has sinking funds, and you would put, I would think, on a monthly basis if you're following mine, but again, however you're going to do that, your different categories. I have very few. I know that some people have quite a lot, so hopefully that's enough space. If not, just print out multiples of this. This is the transaction log, where you're going to log expenses that are hitting these different categories, and then you're going to, again, color code, number it, whatever, and then whatever your category is, so this would mirror these, you would total it out and then use that number to help figure out what your actual expense was for the total fund. And then I did have a little bit of explanation of what a sinking fund is. It's simply doing a sinking fund is a way to save money for a known or unknown expense that will happen in the future. And by unknown, I mean, it's like a vacation. You want to go on vacation in a couple of years. You're not exactly sure where or when, but it is something you can foresee. It's not like, the mirror example that I used. And so examples of known expenses are Christmas gifts, car registration, and Amazon Prime. Unknown expenses could be a vacation fund, a new car fund, or a new home fund. Again, there is no particular end date in mind, maybe, so you can start saving up for that now. By doing a sinking fund, you can break up a potentially large bill into manageable pieces, and sinking funds can be done based on your budget. So whether you can do it monthly like me, whether you can do it weekly, maybe you can do it only once and again, just because how funds are allocated in your budget. Really, this is just to help you get an idea of what your expenses are, and not just honing in on this month, but the next 6 months or the next year or the next 2 or 3 or 4 years, so that you can start anticipating, so that you are proactive with what's coming down the line that affects your budget rather than reactive. Because if you are going on your own debt-free journey, the ultimate goal, I think, in all of this is to get your debt either to zero or in a much manageable place, so that you don't feel overwhelmed or controlled by it. So if you can earmark, and even if it's just, you've got 3 categories and you can do $5 a month, even if it's just that, by the time that expense comes up, instead of having to come out of pocket for, such a large chunk, you only have to come out with whatever the difference is of what you have in your fund. So I definitely see the beauty of doing a sinking fund. And right now, I've just got these 7 categories. They may change, they may move, they may increase, depending on how it goes. But definitely give it a try, or at least look at if there's wiggle room in your budget to see if that might work for you. And some people I know do a sinking funds, and they don't actually do a specific category for it. They're just like, okay, I'm going to put away $100 a month or $100 every paycheck, and I know this is just going to hit all of that pool of money. And the reason I say that is, I have some medical expenses coming up in April and in May, because I have some doctor's appointments coming up. So I know I'll be hitting that fund. And then it might be a year before I see a doctor again, because 2019, I've had a lot of doctor's appointments. 2018, I think I had 2. So you might have this fund grow rather large. If you earmark it like this, then you will potentially have a large pool of money, and you can either divert what you usually put in that into something else, or if you're not making categories at all, you can know, all right, well, right now I need to deal with this car registration, so I'm just going to take it out of there, and then as things come up, I know I have this pool of money, and I'll take it out as I need it, versus giving every category a name and a number and then going from there. Because again, you can always dip into this if you really truly need it. If you need to pay your light bill and you don't have any other way to do it other than hit your sinking funds, then guys, do it. Okay? Take care of all of those things before you sock away money for some things that are coming up in the future. Okay? I don't know if that makes sense. It makes sense to me, but it's just another way for you to know what you're doing with your money and giving it a purpose. I think that's a Dave Ramsey thing. I'm not really sure. Or maybe it's just something I saw on a sticker in the Happy Planner budget book. Or maybe it's both. I don't know. But guys, this is my sinking funds for March. I will be closing this out in the next week or so when I have firm totals. And as always, aloha.